Welcome back, X Factor Nation. We are back with a NFL podcast, X Factor Sports Talk. I'm joined by Troy, my dog. No Caleb today, just me and Troy, the OGs, the original NFL podcast duo. Troy, how are we doing today, buddy?
Hey, man, we're sorry that we missed last week. We did send our picks, but it's better if we don't even talk about those, in my opinion. Bad week in the pick department again. It's starting to become a trend. When is it going to switch? That's my thing. Is it ever?
Dude, I don't know. This year's definitely been really strange.
it's,
So
it's been
it's
weird.
hard to pick.
If you're a fantasy football player, it's just been a weird year all around. If you're not a wide receiver, you're not really scoring a ton of points. I feel like wide receivers have really dominated, and running backs have struggled to get a lot going because there's a lot of teams going to running back by committee. But anyway, looking ahead, it's already week 8 in the NFL, which is
Wild, bro.
insane. And I keep saying we just got to soak up each and every week of the NFL season. So this week there is a fantastic Thursday night football game. This hasn't been, a common theme, if you will, for Thursday night football, especially the last few weeks. But I think this one is going to be so much fun. The Ravens go on the road to play the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers right now do open up a small favorite on the Ravens. Fred, what do you think?
Man, this has to be, I wouldn't say a must win, but it's about as close as you can get for the Buccaneers, man. They have to bounce back. Tom and the boys have not looked great. And I do expect them to bounce back in this one. I mean, you saw them lose to a really bad Carolina Panther team just a week ago. Wasn't like them. And I think they come out and dominate the Ravens actually at home. Lamar's looked a little lackluster to me, man. Hasn't really looked out in the last couple of weeks. So I'd like to see him get a little bit back on track, but I don't think it's enough for the Buccaneers. I think they get a much needed win on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, the Ravens, I think the story with them is that they continue to open up leads on teams, but then they always allow their opponent back into the game.
Yeah.
That game on Sunday against the Brownies, that was close for no reason. The Ravens could have literally blown them out, but they were able to stay in the game just on some decision making, some fumbles, some miscues by the Ravens. And I am with you on this one. I think the Buccaneers, huge bounce back spot for them. They need this win. And they've looked terrible. They have not looked good. Brady has looked awful, to say it, pretty kindly, in my opinion.
It's not even like he's turning it over. He's just not hitting his receivers. It's like he's not making the right read. It's just a weird year for him.
Yeah, they're not able to get anything going on the run on the ground either. And I think that's the biggest concern because the first 2 weeks
they have a bad running back, committee. Like it's not, you have Leonard Fournette,
and
Rashard White's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a good team. I have the Bucks bouncing back as well. And Caleb is going with the Ravens.
I bet he is.
So guess what, everybody? We have another London game. Thank you, Lord. A beautiful Sunday morning game on Sunday. The Jaguars and the Broncos. The Broncos, man. Russell Wilson is trending towards playing. He has said this morning in an interview that he was up all flight, stretching, trying to stay prepared for this game. I had my rant about Russell Wilson a few weeks back on the podcast. So if you haven't, click back. I'm pretty sure it's like episode 5 or 6. I went absolutely in on Russell Wilson. So Fred, what do you think about this game?
Man, I've liked Jacksonville all year. They have 5 losses, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, every single one of them have been by one score. If you want to count an 8-point loss of one score, which you should. So it's not like they've played bad football. They've been in every game, just can't close. It's Travis Etienne's backfield now, which I think is awesome. I'm excited to watch him continue to grow because he's looked great in spots this year. So I am going to take Jacksonville. I think the Broncos are just have too big of a question mark. It looks like this is probably going to be Bradley Chubb's last game in a Denver uniform is what I've heard. So then the running back room to take that pressure off Russell is just not there, even if he plays. So I'm going to go Jacksonville. Do not like the Broncos. They've had a very disappointing year.
Yeah, I've been high on Travis Etienne for the longest time. I drafted him in mine and Fred. Fred's part of my family league. And I literally drafted this man like top 40. Like I was all in on Travis Etienne. I think that this kid can be an Alvin Kamara-esque back. And I think
Mhm.
with him now being the lead guy, I think it opens up their playbook a bit because I think that at times, Coach Peterson almost felt like he had to try to get James Robinson out there and some touches. I mean, he's a big talent, and he was an undrafted rookie that boomed onto the scene, looked incredible, tore his Achilles, and then looked incredible off of that. So he's a hardworking kid, man, that does nothing but produce on the field. So you kind of have to put him out there. But this Travis Etienne, he just is going to open up their offense in a way. Trevor Lawrence, I believe, will just get more and more comfortable because that's his boy. That's his guy from college. So I am too rolling with the Jags. Me and you siding, and Caleb is zigging. He's going with the Broncos. So trust in the Broncos. He's going against his trend of putting a disgusting taste in your mouth and not picking them. I feel like the
Yeah, what a
Broncos.
weirdo.
I feel like the Broncos continue just to, nah. Anyway, moving on to the Sunday 1 o'clock slate, the Panthers coming off a huge win against Brady's Buccaneers, what you kind of alluded to earlier, go on the road to play the Falcons. I think the Falcons are one of the better stories this year in the NFL, up there with the Seahawks, just finding a way to keep, getting it done, and they don't throw the ball at all. It's a weird style of football. But Fred, I'll let you get into that. Panthers against the Falcons.
Yeah, dude, I've really liked what Marcus Mariota's done. I think he's done a very solid job. I didn't think he was, expected to do as much as he has, and he's always exceeded expectations. They have a fun offense. They've got a lot of playmakers. So I'm going to go Atlanta here. Just too many. Again, just Carolina's just. I think last week was a fluke. I think they just played a perfect game against against the Buccaneers. Did what they had to do. Like Dante Foreman a lot, and of course DJ Moore's an absolute stud. But I'm going to go Atlanta here.
Yeah, I too, and Caleb, we all went with the Falcons. What the Panthers were able to do against the Bucks, I think the Bucks started out on a bad foot whenever Mike Evans dropped that 75-yard touchdown.
That was
Anytime,
weird.
anytime your game starts with your all-pro, all talented, potentially Hall of Fame wide receiver drops a wide open breadbasket shot, that's the way you start your game.
It was a perfect throw. I mean, literally a perfect throw.
It can take the air out of the field, kind of take that, like, oh, this is the kind of game it's going to be. Like, oh, okay. And it was that kind of game. And it was lightning in a bottle. And I think the Falcons will absolutely dominate this game from the word go. Moving on, the Bears on the road to play the Cowboys. The Bears, even though they're winning, they're 3-4 coming off a huge Monday Night Football win. They gut the locker room a little bit, trading Robert Quinn over to Philadelphia Eagles. And we'll get into the Eagles side of things. But for the Bears, I don't like the way they manage things, but I feel like every time I get high on the Cowboys, they just find a way to rip and just leave a bad taste in my mouth. Last year, I had them going 13-4, right? Or 13-5 or whatever it is now. And I was all in on the Cowboys. And then they absolutely peed all over themselves. And now I'm starting to believe, like, okay, with Dak coming back, maybe this team can be something. But I am rolling with the Cowboys over the Bears. I just think that the locker room in Chicago, coming off a win, you trade one of your leaders. That just doesn't send a good message to the guys in the locker room. And Justin Fields is what he is, and that Cowboys defense is wicked. What do you think, Fred?
Oh yeah, defense with the Cowboys. I think Dak Prescott has a big week as well. The Bears team, they look good against New England. In weird conditions out there. Justin Fields actually didn't look half bad, which is a surprise to me. But yeah, Micah Parsons. I mean, that dude's an all world talent, and I think he's going to be, one of the best pass rushers we see for a while. So yeah. I'm going to go Cowboys as well. Love what CeeDee Lamb's done this year, and even Zeke, I think, has had a very solid year for them.
Yeah, and I think the best thing that could happen with the Cowboys, honestly, is for Zeke to take like a week or two off. Apparently, he's nursing that knee again. Let him kind of sit out and get healthy. Let Tony Pollard absolutely take the top off of this offense. Let it kind of roll. Get Michael Gallup more touches. Get that wide receiver room starting to get a little confidence because, they're not the greatest crew in the world. Losing Amari Cooper and only having Gallup and CD, but get them some confidence rolling against a pretty bad Bears team. Moving on, a fun game. Dolphins on the road to play the Detroit Lions. I watch Pat McAfee show every day, and there's a Detroit Lions fan that's part of the production team for the Pat McAfee show, and he was so high on the Lions coming into the year. I think everybody was with their HBO series. Everybody was like, dude, Dan Campbell is a guy. Like, he's a motivating machine. They started out their year rather hot. Like Jared Goff looked legit. They were throwing it all over the place. They were scoring so many points. And now they've come back down to earth. They have crashed and burned almost in a sense, and they are 1-5, staring down the barrel of a 1-6 start. They haven't had DeAndre Swift. He keeps getting hurt year after year, it seems, and he has so much talent, but can't seem to stay healthy. But it's looking like DeAndre Swift could be back. But is there good news, or is this the same old Lions like the Pat McAfee show keeps alluding to?
This is my upset of the week.
Oh,
I'm taking Detroit, man. I have loved them all year. And you know what? I saw, of course, I watched the Dolphins play my Steelers last week. That offense got a little stagnant, man. We kind of schemed against them.
You guys
figured
could,
it out.
if you guys could catch the ball on the defense side of the ball, you might have had a chance to win the game.
Should have won that game, yeah. But Tyreek Hill's had a great. I mean, those two receivers. I mean, Waddle and Hill are so elite, and even Mostert's look really good for them.
Mostert's
just pushing Chase Edmonds to the curb, man. He says my running back room. So I'm going to go Detroit here, man. I think it's going to be a defensive game, and I think Detroit squeaks out a victory, and I think Jared Goff gets back on track this week. So
me and Caleb went with the Dolphins. I don't think I said it last time, the last game. Caleb also went the Cowboys. I'm so sorry about that, but yeah, I'm going with the Dolphins. The Lions' defense is just so bad. I think this is a huge get right spot for Tua. Like for Tua, though, like going against a Mike Tomlin led Steelers team. Like, weren't you guys off a bye too? No,
we were off our Buccaneers win.
Okay, off of a Buccaneers win, heading into Sunday Night Football prime time. Mike Tomlin's going to be in the lab. Brian Flores, huge emotional game for him. Like, I was expecting that defense to come out like fired up, and they were after obviously the first two drives. The Dolphins absolutely obliterated you guys, but then you guys calmed down. You got settled in. And Tua tried giving the ball away, like I was alluding to. I just don't think the Lions have the playmakers to even make those plays. I think it'll look. I don't know what I think, but I think the Dolphins do win. I don't know if it's going to be the prettiest game in the world. I think it's going
to be a little slopped up defensive game.
Yeah, I could see a lot of turnovers. I could see fumbles. I could see Tua throw 2 picks. I could see Jared Goff throw 3. But I just think that at the end of the day, I trust the Dolphins a smidgen more, even though I do think that the Detroit should be buzzing. Like, they should have fun with this game. This could be a high-scoring, fun game to watch.
They got to win. I mean,
they need to win.
Salvage their season at all.
And my guy DeAndre Swift should be back. So cannot wait to see a little bit of that game. This is my game of the week coming up. I did a weird one. I wanted to be different. The Cardinals on the road to play the Minnesota Vikings. And you might be saying, Troy, why in the world are the Cardinals and the Vikings your game of the week? Well, everybody knows about the Vikings right now. 5-1, rolling off a bye, feeling really, really good about themselves. The favorites to win the NFC North at this point of the season. They should be, and they probably will win it, as we all predicted in our division show, if you didn't already see that. But the Cardinals, I want to talk about the Cardinals for a second. The Cardinals got DeAndre Hopkins back last week. Obviously, they lost Hollywood Brown the week prior, so we didn't really get to see what this offense could be with Hollywood, with D-Hop, and with Zach Ertz, and potentially now James Conner whenever he gets healthy. This offense could be something special. Like, they could be really, really good. DeAndre Hopkins has not missed a step. Like, if anybody thought that dude might have taken a step back after this long layoff, no. What people need to realize about D-Hop, he would always start out really, really hot, and then as the season wore on, his body would deteriorate. Then he'd get worse and worse and worse throughout the season. Their whole offense would kind of go down. Now D-Hop's rested up. He's feeling really good. They still got a bye week looming. So it's like, I'm pretty sure they have a bye week looming. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure they do. Yes, they do. So, like, he's going to have another week of rest during the season. So he's going to have 7 weeks off throughout the season. This is a team to watch in the NFC, but they're not winning this Sunday. The Vikings are rolling. It's my game of the week. I think it's going to be fun. A lot of points, a lot of action, a lot of fun. Kyler versus Kirk. It's going to be a blast. This is almost, if it was in prime time, it'd be a terrible game. But since it's not, it's going to be a ball. and I cannot
Oh, yeah.
wait. But I am rolling with the Vikings.
Yeah, man. I'm also going to go Minnesota here. I really like them all year. I think Kirk Cousins is playing really good football, and of course you have Jay Jettis, and I think Dalvin Cook has Dalvin Cook has a really good game against them, and that Minnesota Vikings defense has looked really really good, and I think the Vikings actually win pretty handily here.
Oh, you think it's a? Are you calling for a
I think
blowout?
it's I'm calling for a blowout. I like the Vikings, man. I like them coming into the year. I thought they would run away with that division, and I think they will because that division is really down this year, and it was a perfect opportunity for them to take what's rightfully theirs, and they're looking like it.
They deserve this year. If it all
Yeah,
goes in how it's looking, they deserve it. But Caleb is going with the Cardinals. He
I bet he
disagrees.
is.
He disagrees with your blowout take and is picking the underdog Cardinals on the road there. So now the
Like
next
it.
game, really interesting. The Raiders go on the road to play the Andy Dalton led Saints. Andy's coming off a pretty rough performance. But Fred, what do you think about this one?
I'm gonna go Raiders here. I do like the Saints offense, even with Andy Dalton. I think Chris Olave is an absolute stud. I'm all on the Chris Olave train. I think he's so good. Um, get healthy, New Orleans. Figure out a quarterback situation. Are they even going to go back to Jameis this year? I don't know. Who knows what they're going to do? But the
Healthy.
Raiders,
He's healthy. Dalton.
yeah. So what does that tell you? And he doesn't look bad. I mean, he's made a couple mistakes here and there, but it's okay. I think Josh Jacobs is probably one of the better stories this year. I think that dude has looked incredible. I mean, 633, 6 touchdowns. I mean, he's almost averaging 6 yards per carry. So, I mean, that dude is absolutely tearing the world up. And I kind of written him off as whatever, not a Josh Jacobs fan, but he has proved a lot of people wrong. And you have like guys like Max Crosby and on that defensive side of the ball. I think it's a recipe for success, and I think they get it done on the road.
Me and Caleb are going with the Saints. And when you think
Okay.
about the Saints, they were my surprise team of the year. They were my sleeper team of the year. I love the Saints coming into the year. And to be honest, you look at them, they are very, very similar with the Jaguars. Like they have been in almost every game. They have not really been blown out. The one game that you can look back on and be like, maybe they were blown out was the Buccaneers week 2. But that game was 3-3 going into the fourth quarter. Like I think people tend to forget that Jameis Winston threw 2 pick sixes, or like they'll pick 6, and then there was a fight that broke out. The energy kind of shifted, so that game was a little funky. But the rest, they lost to the Vikings by 3, the Bengals by 4, and they led most of the game against the Bengals. Then they lost to the Cardinals on Thursday night by 8 somehow after 2 back-to-back pick sixes. So they just had turnovers kind of turn their season in a sense. A little wordplay for you there, but yeah. I think the Saints are a good football team. I really do. I just think they've had a couple bad breaks. And I think that if Andy can go against this Raiders defense, that, to be completely honest, outside of their pass rush, isn't overly great. They're not bad, don't get me wrong, but they're not the greatest defense, even though I love Trayvon Moehrig on the back end of it. Horn Frog Nation, stand up. But yes, I am rolling with the Saints. So is Caleb. So you're going with the Raiders. So the Patriots go on the road to play the Jets. The Patriots have had a little bit of a quarterback controversy for about 2 quarters. Everybody thought Bailey Zappi was the next coming of Tom Brady. And then he threw 2 picks in the second half of the game against the Bears, and it got absolutely blown out. I fell asleep during that game, so I cannot give my full prediction of Mac Jones versus Bailey Zappi. But do you think Bailey Zappi is the guy? I mean, for whatever reason, this is now a conversation. And who do you think is going to win this game? What do you think about just this game overall, Fred?
Well, at the beginning of the year, we picked 2 teams that we thought were going to shock some people, or kind of our sleeper teams, and one of them was the New York Jets for me, and I highlighted their draft class and their defense. Them and the Washington Commanders were my 2 teams I thought were going to make some noise. And that New York Jets defense is elite, man. I mean, Quentin Williams is taking that step. Sauce Gardner is an absolute shutdown corner. CJ Mosley's looked good. And on the Patriots side, that question mark quarterback it's tough. Their defense, I think, is their bright spot, and they really struggled against Chicago. Matthew Judon is basically it right now. He's making a lot of noise on the defensive end for them. So I'm going to go with the Jets here, man. I think the Breece Hall injury is tough. That is really tough. But I mean, they made a team who's trying to win move and went and got James Robinson, which is a huge deal. And even Michael Carter as a backup is very solid. But I want to see Zach Wilson develop as a passer because I don't think they're going to be able to rely on that run game for long. I know that defense is really strong, but you gotta throw the ball at some point. And I hope he can do that because he's got some weapons. So let him use it. New York Jets. Here we go.
Yeah, so Zach Wilson is an interesting fella. He's not the greatest quarterback ever. Joe Flacco is still outthrowing him by almost 300 yards, almost almost
That's
250 yards. So it's one of those things, man. They don't throw the ball a lot. They rely on their run game, and I think that's why they had to go get James Robinson. Like they had to go get a guy. They had to go get like a Kareem Hunt. Like they had to make this type of move. Because without this type of move, are you really about to feed Michael Carter the ball 25 times a game? Like, there's no way. So I'm rolling with the Patriots. I think that this is a Bill Belichick game written all over it. I think that this has, all right, you're not going to throw, let's make you throw. And if Zach Wilson's able to make throws, they should win. They have no reason not to win. Because I don't think the Patriots are going to be able to move the ball too well against that New York Jet defense, because I mean the Jets defense is just solid. They rank pretty much in the top half of the league in every statistical category when it comes to defense. So good on them. Robert Saleh's got the boys moving, but I am rolling with the Patriots, and Caleb and you rolling with the Jets. So on to your favorite team, the Steelers. They go on the road to play the best team potentially in the NFL, who made yet another move saying F those draft picks and sending them off for another solid pass rusher in Robert Quinn. So big move for the Eagles there. I would find it hard to place my team, my trust in the Steelers right now, especially going into Philadelphia against that team, playing the way they are. So I am rolling with the Eagles. Caleb is as well. And then Fred, I'll set you loose on this one with the Steelers and the Eagles.
Yeah, man, I'm also going to go with the Eagles here. You know, they just added probably another Hall of Famer. I mean,
Question: have you picked the Steelers yet this year?
Yeah, I picked them last week against the Dolphins.
Okay.
So,
continue. Sorry, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, they just added another probably Hall of Famer. I mean, you got Brandon Graham, Hall of Famer, Fletcher Cox, Hall of Famer, and now Robert Quinn. I mean, that defensive line's absolutely stacked. And then you add in just, their secondaries played really well. You got Hassan Reddick coming off the side. I mean, it's just a lot. And that Steelers offense, I mean, we rank, bottom, 29, 28, 30, 31, 32 in every statistical category. It's very, very problematic. Kenny's not looked as comfortable as I thought he would. Najee Harris has looked really, really bad. And it's not even like our offensive line's playing horrific. I mean, we have a couple, even like James Daniels been one of the best guards this year. It's just, I don't know what's going on with that offense, but I think it starts with Matt Canada, and it has to be a change there. I still like Mitch Trubisky. I think we went to Kenny just a little bit too early. But I think if there's any bright spot on the offense, it's George Pickens. I think he's showed that he's going to be a good receiver in this league. Deontay still got it. I just don't think he's happy with the quarterback play, and I don't really blame him. So still don't have TJ. We're still missing our best player. Defense has looked less than ideal. Looked really good last week at times, just couldn't for some reason intercept the football. So I am going to go Philadelphia here, and I think they handle us pretty easily, maybe kind of like the Buffalo game.
So I have a question for you in regards to, so did they make the switch because of an injury in the New York Jet game? And then
No.
Okay, so they benched Mitch Trubisky in the Jet game. And obviously he didn't play great. He threw 7 of 13, 84 yards and a pick. And then Kenny came out there and didn't throw an incompletion, but he threw 3 picks. And he was 10 for 13 for 120 yards. And then you look at that schedule, and I'm just trying to understand their thinking behind throwing. If you're not going to start your rookie from week 1, try to help me understand why in the world you'd start him week 5 against the Bills in Buffalo. His first career start is in Buffalo against the odds-on, bet it and forget it Super Bowl winners right now, the Buffalo Bills. Then, obviously, you won the game, but you're still going against Brady and the Bucs in week 6. Then you go to Miami to play the Dolphins, and then, hey, by the way, now you get to go to Philly and play the Eagles. Like, are you just trying to kind of throw him to the fire, figure it out, see what he's made of? Is that what the goal was? Or like, what do you think about, because like you said, I don't think they handled it well at all. Like at all. I think it was a complete mismanage of what they were trying to do. If you're gonna start Mitch, roll with Mitch until at least the bye week, in my opinion, my humble and honest opinion. Like their bye week was week 9, gives you a week to kind of figure it out. Tell Kenny, hey, you're starting week 10 against the Saints. All right, get yourself going. And then we got a huge divisional game against the Bengals. Okay. Like figure it out. We'll get you going. You had this whole week, you had 8 weeks to figure it out. Now we get the bye week to integrate you into the offense. And now week 9 or week 10, we roll you out against the struggling Saints team that is giving up a lot of points. So you can figure it out. Like, I'm trying to understand their thinking, man.
I mean, it goes back to the offseason. I don't know why we drafted Kenny Pickett at 20. I mean, it's like our front office didn't see Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Hendon Hooker, guys like that. Like that, the quarterback class was so bad last year, but we decided to wait till 20 to take a guy we weren't even sure in, and we had a guy, Mitchell Trubisky, right there. So I don't understand the logic. I don't care that Kenny Pickett's on the team. I will root for that kid. I hope to God he succeeds if it figures it out. I just thought we could have. I mean, we needed defensive line. We are so old on the defensive line outside of our pass rushers coming off the edge. Like, we could have used secondary. God bless it. We could have used a corner, but I don't know. It's just a lot. I guess they just felt pressure to start Kenny. The fan base was kind of breathing down the front office's neck. Yeah. So we'll see. Just not the year. I'm not too biased.
Welcome to life as a rebuilder, my friend.
Yeah, it's rough.
Enjoy it.
I think we still have TJ Watt to build around, so I'm not totally. I mean, we're just kind of I think it's an offensive coordinator issue too. I'd like to see us go get somebody else.
Yeah, take it from a seasonal guy who's seen a lot of rebuilds. I've seen it with the Bengals. I've seen it with TCU. I've seen it with the Lakers in the past. You just got to kind of go through it, trust it, have fun in the rebuild, because there are fun spots in those rebuilds. That win against the Bucs, that's fun. That's a big, nobody saw it coming type win. So just enjoy it. But yeah, it is going to be an interesting year out there in Pittsburgh. So moving on to the 4:00 slate, the Titans go on the road to play the Texans. What do you think about this one, Fred?
I really like the Titans, man. I've been really down on them, but I think they picked up a really big win last week against the Colts, and I think they keep it going here. The Texans I think they have some fun pieces. Of course, Dameon Pierce looked good, but their receiver room's really shot. Brandon Cooks has been less than ideal this year. I'm interested to see if they stick with Davis Mills going forward past this year, but I'm going to go Tennessee Titans. I think Derrick Henry and the boys get it done.
Caleb also went with the Titans. This is my upset of the week. I'm going with the Texans. I've been so low on the Titans all year long. I'm not really sure how they continue to figure out ways to win games. Granted, 2 of their 4 wins have been against the Colts. So maybe that is part of the issue, I guess, with how they continue to win. But I think going into Houston, I think that they're going to want to highlight Brandon Cooks this week. I think that they're going to get an absolute haul for Brandon Cooks whenever they do decide to trade him. And I think a big part of their plan this week is going to be like, okay, we need to let Brandon Cooks kind of eat here so we get the maximized value heading into the trade deadline season. So I'm high on the Texans this week. I think they get the job done at home. Davis Mills has a nice game, and they win here. That's my upset of the week. Moving on, as I just alluded to, the Colts. The Commanders go on the road to play the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have benched Matt Ryan and have gone with the Hook'em Horns, Sam Ehlinger. I'm not the biggest fan of Sam, but I'm interested to see what you have to say about this game, Fred.
Yeah, Sam. Ehlinger, he's cool. Matt Ryan's really struggled. He has a shoulder separation. Looks like they're benching him regardless. I think that the Colts are probably one of the most disappointing teams this year. I think on paper, we're looking really good to start the year. So I'm going to go with the Commanders here. I think Terry McLaurin still shows why he can be I like Carson. I think he just does enough, and I think it's a statement game for him. A Colt last year, I think he comes in and he tears them up, lets them know that they made a mistake. Carson Wentz, Washington Commanders, get it done. Yeah, absolutely. Go Commanders.
I'm going with the Colts. I just think that there's going to be a little bit more of an energy shift in Indianapolis. I don't think the guys bought into Matt Ryan from day one. I didn't see it. They didn't compete really hard for him. They barely scraped out week 1 against the Texans. And from that moment on, it was kind of like, man, this is our guy. Like, this is the guy that we went all in for. And everybody was like, okay, now you got your quarterback. So I think Sam Ehlinger is going to do good enough. I don't think the best part about these quarterbacks sometimes, now granted, other times can be really, really bad, but about 50% of the time, a quarterback that steps in, there's no tape on him in the NFL. They have no idea what they're going to do, how they're going to utilize them, what they've seen in practice. Like, they have no idea going into this game. So they're just going to kind of roll the ball out there and be like, all right, this is a whole new offense that we can't prepare for. And I think that is a huge advantage for the Colts. So I see them beating the Commanders here. So moving on, the 49ers go on the road to play the Rams, a divisional showdown here. Big game for both teams. Like, this could determine a lot moving forward for both teams. 49ers obviously made the huge flashy deal acquiring Christian McCaffrey. I will say, though, Deebo Samuel did not practice today. Not sure if that will impact his status for Sunday, but just something to kind of keep your eye on there. Fred, what do you think about this game?
I think this is actually my game of the week because I think it holds a lot of weight in that division. And like you said, the CMC just getting accustomed to that offense. I mean, he even looked good in limited touches last week.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big game for both teams. And I'm actually going to go 49ers here. I think the Rams, I don't think Matt Stafford has his bounce back game here. And I think the 49ers really struggled last week on defense, a defense who have played really well this year. So I think they kind of dig their heels in and have a statement game just on a defensive side of the ball. Brandon Ayuk's looked gross for them. I think he's even outplayed Deebo at times. So I'm going to go 49ers here on the road to beat the Rams.
Maybe a hot take. I think Brandon Ayuk low-key is a better wide receiver than Deebo Samuel. I don't know how hot of a take that is. I just think route running ability for Brandon Ayuk is very, very good. And when he gets the ball in his hands, obviously Deebo, when he gets the ball in his hands, unreal. But whenever Brandon Ayuk gets that ball in his hands, he can just get into a gear that is really fun to watch. I'm really high on Ayuk, but that's beside the point. I'm rolling with the Rams. I just think there's a few coaches in the league that if you have a bye leading up to the game, I'm all in on you. And that was kind of me with the Steelers last week. I was kind of leaning like, oh my goodness, Mike Tomlin off a bye, or not off a bye, but off a big emotional win. There's a few teams and a few coaches that I love with their back against the wall. And my boy McVay is one of them. I'm rolling with the Rams. I just think that, dude, he's had all week to scheme this game up. Kyle Shanahan has kind of owned him, over the past few years. The 49ers have just had their way with the Rams during the regular season. So I think that this is a huge emotional win for Sean McVay and the Rams on arguably the best 4:00 game there. A game coming into the year that you probably would have been like, man, this is a terrible, terrible game. But now all of a sudden you look, you're like, wow, this could be a fun game. The Giants, the 6-1 Giants go on the road to play the 4-3 Seahawks. For a little bit of just material, I guess, the Seahawks win total was set at 5.5 by Vegas. Okay. They have 4 wins through 7 games. They have more wins than the Broncos, who they traded their star quarterback to. Unbelievable. But anyway, fun story from both sides here. I think this is a fun game. Just kind of like two worlds colliding with, America's favorite teams going head to head, the stories of the seasons. What do you think about this one, Fred?
Geno Smith's good, man. I mean, he has set the world on fire. I mean, 1,711 touchdowns, 3 oopsies. I mean, that's a really solid year for a guy that a lot of people gave up on, and he just got to work, and he took it, and he was like, you know what, Russ is gone. Let me go try to make some noise. Let me prove to Seahawk Nation that I can be their quarterback.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker looks like an absolute sicko.
Stallion.
I mean, wow, stud. And then you look on the Giants side, man. Daniel Jones has played very solid football, and Saquon Barkley has played outstanding this year. That kid is back. I'm so happy to see it because he has so much explosiveness. Shouts out Wan'Dale Robinson, getting a lot of love from Daniel Jones, getting a lot of targets. It is a couple games back off injury. So I'm actually going to go Seahawks here. I'm going to take the home team. I think it's really hard to go win in Seattle. And I think Geno Smith outduels Daniel Jones in a pretty cool quarterback matchup. Like you said, beginning of the year, probably not so much, but now I'm in for it.
Yeah, I can't wait for this game. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Like, to be completely honest, I think the 4 o'clock slate this week is kind of like bizarrely okay. Like, it's not terrible. Typically, the 4 o'clock slate's kind of like, what am I watching? But this 4 o'clock slate's not bad. I too am rolling with the Seahawks at home. I'm just at some point the Giants have to come back down to earth, right? Like, at some
I don't
point,
know. They're well coached, man. Brian Dable's got them
Brian
boys
Dable.
flying.
Don't get me started about Brian Dable. I love that guy. I would
Got
run
him
through a
going.
wall for that guy. If
I
I was an
would, yeah.
NFL player, I would want to play for that kind of guy. Just a dude that's all about winning, all about his team, all about his guys. He has schemed up plan after plan after plan to make Daniel Jones look good. Every other coach hasn't figured it out for the Giants. How in the world can we get Daniel Jones to not turn over the ball? Brian Dable in one offseason demised a plan around Daniel Jones that it makes Daniel Jones look like a quarterback, look like an NFL quarterback.
Make easy throws and run the ball.
Yeah, because coming into the year, everybody was like, oh, dude, this guy's a backup. The Giants need a quarterback, this, that, and the third. It's like, maybe Daniel Jones can be a cheaper option for them so they could surround him with just amazing talent and figure it out, because Brian Dable can do it. He can scheme it up for him. I love it. But I am going with the Seahawks, and Caleb went with the Giants. So moving on to Sunday Night Football, and one of those things coming into the year, you probably would have been like, man, this game's going to be electric, but not this year, not this week. The Bills have been dominant, to say it pretty bluntly. They've been the best team in the NFL, right up in the AFC at least, right up there with the Eagles. They just don't show a lot of weakness. So, Fred, what do you think about this one?
Bills by a lot. Packers suck. Said that at the beginning of the year. I didn't think they were going to be good. Aaron Rodgers is pissed off. He's not one of those guys who plays good pissed off. He's just upset with his teammates, it seems. I think the Bills absolutely rolled them on Sunday night. Josh Allen's MVP, Super Bowl favorites. I think it's an absolute massacre. Nothing good about I can say good about the Packers.
Caleb also went with the Bills. I too am rolling with the Bills, but I think it's close. I think it's like a 30-27 game, in my opinion. I think that the Packers' backs are against the wall, and a desperate team can do a lot of things. And I think especially whenever you have the back-to-back MVP and A-Rod, obviously doesn't have the weapons that he once had with like Davante Adams, but you still have an elite quarterback with elite weapons in Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon's not being utilized. It's kind of funky what they're doing there. I would love to see them kind of use Aaron Jones as a wide receiver some and let A.J. Dillon kind of take lead out of the backfield and then slide Aaron Jones backfield. Kind of give them both about 12 to 15 carries, like dominate time of possession. But I see this game being a high-scoring affair, throwing it all over the field. Can the Packers move the ball against the Bills? I don't know. It could get ugly, but I think it's going to be close, 30-27 Bills. On to Monday Night Football. This is Halloween night. The Browns face off against the Bengals. It's in Cleveland. Tough place to play, but the Browns haven't looked great over the last few weeks. It feels like teams have kind of figured out Jacoby Brissett in a sense where, it kind of isn't, you're caught by surprise with what they're doing. Kareem Hunt has been completely neutralized out of this offense, it seems. And they're rolling with Nick Chubb. Amari Cooper has looked good over the last few weeks, but are the Bengals back? Fred, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Burrow's played lights out football since week one. I mean, that dude's looked like an absolute stud, like he should. The offense is rolling. He's getting everybody involved. It's beautiful to watch. I'd like to see a little bit more pass rush, get to the quarterback a little bit more. And I think they do it this week against the Browns with Jacoby Brissett, because I think the Bengals will get up a lot of points, and I think they'll be forced to throw the ball. That being Cleveland. So I have the Bengals winning this one because I don't think the Browns are a very good football team. And I don't think they're still going to be a good football team even when Mr. Massage comes back.
Mr. Massage. Caleb also went with the Bengals, and I too am rolling with the Bengals. And I just want to applaud Zach Taylor for the way he responded. A lot of coaches in a lot of different situations probably would have folded with everything that was going on, would have gotten in their head a lot, would have overthought, overcomplicated it. But Taylor has just been like, okay, we're just going to let Joe cook. If this is what we have to do, this is what we have to do. We're going to run a college offense, 5 wide. We're going to run out of the shotgun. We're not going to go under center unless we're kneeling or unless we do some sort of other scheme. But literally, it's incredible what happens whenever they realize, oh, we have three potential wide receiver ones on our football team. Like, just air it out. Let Joe Burrow find the open man. Go underneath. You have a receiving tight end in Hayden Hurst that has absolutely been incredible for this team emotionally. And then, I mean, they just have pushed all the right buttons the past few weeks. This team is fun. Opening it up. Zach Taylor, I applaud you. Thank you. But again, Bengals, go get another pass rusher. As Fred just alluded to, if Trey Hendrickson goes down, we have no pass rush. Sam Hubbard's good and all, but he's not a number one pass rusher. Joseph Asai has showed some flashes. Last year's pick, third-round pick, I believe. He's shown some flashes. He's gotten into the quarterback. He played great on Sunday against the Falcons, but he's still got room to grow. You know, you need an established guy. We don't have time to sit around and wait on rookies to develop, second-year guys to develop. We're the Bengals. This is our window. Go make a win now move. That is my plea. Go get you another pass rusher to pair with Trey, because Trey, he's great. He's a stallion. He's a stud, but he needs rest. He can't have the whole back of the pass rush on his back, like every play, every down. Go get him some help. Help him out. But the Bengals do win on Halloween night against the Cleveland Browns. It's going to be a fun one. So there's the entire football slate. Some teams on byes include the Chiefs and the Chargers. So not a lot of bye weeks, a full slate of games. Cannot wait for Sunday as usual. We head to the Fantasy Football Sleeper Showdown. We did not do any last week due to us being off, but I did win the week previous. So now we are locked up at 3-3 heading into week 8. Fred, who is your Fantasy Football Sleeper?
I am going to go a brother of a really good receiver, and this guy plays for the Chicago Bears, Equanimeous St. Brown. I'm going to win the brother of Amon-Ra. He is owned in 0.3% of ESPN Fantasy Football Leagues. I thought he's looked decent out in Chicago. He had 7 targets last week, 4 catches, 48 against New England. He's caught a touchdown this year, and I think he has a big game and does his thing against the Dallas secondary.
Well, there you go. I am going with another wide receiver. So we're going head-to-head on wide receivers, both in the NFC. I'm rolling with the guy that plays for the Giants, Darius Slayton. I was
He had a big week last week.
Tossing and turning between a few names, but Darius Slayton, man, owned by 1.3% of fantasy football owners across ESPN leagues. Going against a Seattle defense that has allowed quite a bit of points, I expect at least one big play from Big Play Slay. Big Play Slayton. That just made me giggle. I
feel like Darius Slay might have something to say about that.
I know. I was kind of making a joke. But yeah, Darius Slayton, man, this wide receiver crew for the Giants is getting tortured with injuries. So I think it opens up opportunities for guys like Wan'Dale, guys like Darius Slayton to really step up. And I think Daniel Jones, man, he's not scared to sling it to Darius. He trusts him. They have that trust. So I'm rolling with Darius Slayton here. So there we go. You feeling that? You got anything left to say, brother? If not, get us out of here.
Super excited about this week, man. Hopefully we have some bounce back wins for some teams and some absolute, I hope the Bills slap the Packers. I can't stand Green Bay. I'm just not on the Aaron Rodgers train right now. Anyway, yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in for yet another week of the NFL podcast here on the X Factor Sports Talk. Don't be a star. Don't be a superstar. Change the game. Be different. Be an X Factor. We'll see you guys next time. Love you guys. God bless. And peace out.